You need that security.
You.
Jesus.
Intro to terrorism right now
Right.
to get terrorism next semester, but terrorism's not on.
All right.
I'll come see you at some point.
Stop moving.
Yeah, that'll probably be going on. What's going
I'm
on?
just zoned out.
Is that the right way? Nope, that's the wrong way. It's in reverse. Boom, you're on camera. Welcome to class, everyone. Those of you joining online.
Go ahead and do your thing.
All right. Welcome. So this is Vince. And you want me to show that?
Well, I was just gonna just talk real quick. Okay, so I'm Dr. Fitzgerald. Everybody just calls me Fitz because it fits. One of the things that we did, we had a 5-year external review, and one of the things that they said that we hadn't really done a great job of was expressing to you the opportunity for the graduate program through the accelerated degree program. So does anybody have any questions about that? About how you can actually take 5,000 level classes while you're in undergraduate school, and they count for both your undergraduate required courses that you have, and they also count for courses in the graduate program. So you can actually graduate you can pay for 12 hours and get 24 hours of credit for paying for those 12 hours while you're an undergraduate. And it benefits you because because you're still undergraduate, your financial aid still applies at the undergraduate level, if that makes sense. So we have 4 classes that apply. So if you juvenile justice, research methods, criminology, and criminology. The elective, the
Juvenile justice.
no, crime prevention and control. So you have crime prevention and control, crime theory or criminal justice or criminology, and juvenile justice and research methods. So you can take the 5,000 level research methods and it will count towards your 4,000 level research methods. You can take the 5,000 level seminar in juvenile justice and it will count for your juvenile justice in undergrad, your 4253. And you can take the 5,000 level crime prevention and control, and it will count for a 4,000 level crime prevention and control in your undergrad. And you can take what else? What the criminology? You can take crime theory at the 5,000 level, and it will wipe out your criminology courses in undergrad. You cannot enroll in the accelerated degree program until you have 72 hours at Northeastern State University. So what you have to do is look at what you got left, what you have taken and what you haven't taken, right? And say, hey, if I want a master's degree when I get out of here, and I could be a third of the way through it, the master's program is 36 hours. You would have 12 of them done, which means you would only have 24 hours for a master's degree. I wrote this program. I know what it says. I know what it does. You just need to maintain a 3.0 in your criminal justice courses, and you're eligible. Okay, and so did they change that to a 3.25? I think it's still 3.0.
Double check.
72 hours, 3.0, and you're in. Okay. And so, what we used to have 15 or 16 students at a time going through this. It works really great if you're planning on going to graduate school. If you want to go to graduate school. If you decide that after you've done some of these classes that you don't want to go on to graduate school, these classes still count towards your undergrad. So it's a win-win situation. Okay. And so that being said, we can have a scan code for it, everything. What you would need to do is simply talk to your academic advisors and say, hey, what would happen if I decided I wanted to enter the accelerated degree program? They can pull that up and they can tell you exactly where you are and tell you what you would need from this point, what would be eligible. Let's say you've already taken juvenile justice, but you haven't taken criminology or research methods, right? You would still have 6 hours available to you that you could take in that program, and you'd knock out 6 hours of that 36 hours. So you don't really, it's not too late to get in the accelerated degree program. Lots of students have done it with 9 hours eligible. You don't have to have the whole 12 available, but you may take up to 12 hours. It doesn't say that you will. Okay. Which got me in trouble when we had to change all that around and everything else. But it set us back a little bit, but not bad. Anybody have any questions in the wide world web out there about this, or do y'all get it? Y'all are zooming in and I see no faces. James is nicer than I am because I want to see your smiling faces on my screen. Questions? Somebody?
Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. Well, that being said, look at this. Scratch my name off of there and my email and put yours on there since you're the graduate coordinator. And if you approve this, then I'll have, this is green, by the way. It's black. So,
Cool.
And it's got this, what is QR code? I don't know what that is, but y'all do. So, if you like that, let me know and we'll go ahead and start putting those up and start promoting it. Is there anybody interested in the graduate program, what I just talked about? Raise your hand online or no, or no, or no, or no, or no. Okay. Come see me. I've got a 2 o'clock class. I'll be in after 3:15 today or after 11 tomorrow. It's today, Monday.
Yeah.
It's after 11.
Thank you.
See y'all.
It is Monday. All right. Cool. That's cool. All right. So if you have any more questions about the accelerated degree program, just let me know. Up to 9 hours. Well, that's probably the biggest benefit is the extra time that you have eyeing towards that goal. And it's going to be more programs like this where you can get credits while in undergraduate school. Some have them, some don't. So that's one where you kind of have to look at the, it varies by program, very much so. So typically, when you start talking about that, you're looking at accelerated degree paths, or the other one they'll call them is 4+1s typically. That's where you can take that you get to double dip those hours if there's the overlap between the degree requirements. And so you take the upper level version of it, and you have to take the lower level, the introductory level, like criminology. To kind of give you an example of what that's like. Undergraduate levels, like you'll get a textbook reader that'll tell you all about, maybe Sean McKay or pick your author kind of thing, whether it's C. Ray Jeffrey or whatever. Graduate school, I'll actually give you some of the originals about those types of things. And so we actually get to see, what the people who wrote the book read, that kind of stuff. So really cool stuff. Yes, it's something that is growing in terms of areas, but that's the one that if you're wanting to do criminal justice stuff and you want to see the research side of things, and if you particularly if you've not had research methods or theory, you can get started on that now. But if you've already had those things, it's like good. Doesn't take anything away. What that actually does is that'll give you a little bit more extra standing. You'll have a little bit more knowledge to step off of. A little bit makes it easier. Because I went to the master's with my criminal justice from psychology, so it was one of those things that I had to learn a lot of base stuff right off the bat. Which wasn't very easy to do. But we were moving into eyewitness testimony and that kind of stuff. Eyewitnesses. And where did we leave off? Because I know there was a couple videos I wanted to show you. So we had popped around a little bit because one of them had moved back into confessions. That's the wrong book. And so if you look at this section, you really look at the chapter subjects. Let me see if I can get that up. I'll show you the topics of them. This section, the book, the ordering of it's a little bit. It's a different order than what I probably would have put it in from the way I understand it. And I'll show you that. All right, boom. And we'll also do this. Share screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so when we get to, let's see if I have the chapter titles in the syllabus. If I don't, I'll just show you the chapters themselves, because what you'll see is this next one kind of bounces around a little bit more than I'd like. Yeah. So we were in searches, and then it goes into obtaining statements and confessions for use as evidence. And it jumps back into, well, this is more like that middle ground between speech and evidence kind of thing, right? So we've dealt with, is it testimony? Is it evidence? That kind of a little bit. We'll get into it more as we move forward. But here, you start to delve into is it property? Is it something related to Fourth Amendment rights, search and seizure, or is it something else? And then we start in the digital sphere, it's like the same. There's really little distinction between those things, whether it's evidence or testimony, that kind of stuff, because it's all electronic. But we'll get into that. So we're going to skip over 12 for right now. We'll come back to it at the end, because what will happen is these right here and these are more Fourth Amendment. I don't know why chapter 12. It just seems like it's out of order to me. And then you get into the scientific stuff. Yay. All right, so that's 12. That's going to be, no, it's 13. Skip 12. And so we were looking at identification processes and enable editing. So double check. This will make sure we finished it. Good sound. Government. Driver's license, roadblocks. Looks like we made through that. Obtaining evidence in foreign countries. Yes, we talked about that. Basically, you have to abide by our rules because you're our citizens. All right, next one. Lawless governing identification. Okay, so last time we talked a little bit about the eyewitnesses. They're not very good. We use them a lot. We give them a lot of readings, I guess, a lot of weight to what they say, but accuracy is not at all good. If you stop and you think about the dynamics of any type of encounter you're going to witness that's going to be in this realm, probably the first thing you do before you start getting scenario things is understanding how a little bit about how cognition works, about how our minds work to some degree. Basically, when you start looking at it, everyone knows memory in terms of long-term, right? You know what long-term memory is. What is long-term memory?
Commitment to your memory.
Yeah, it's something that's gonna be there for a while. It's long term. But yeah, it's something. This is something that's stored. I mean, that's probably the best way to put it. It's actually stored. It's somewhere in there. We don't know exactly how it works, but short term I spelled it correctly. What is short-term memory?
Short.
Mm-hmm. Here's what's interesting about it though. When you start getting into it. It's a cognitive thing. 7 plus or minus 2. The number of items someone can hold in their short-term memory on average is 7 plus or minus 2. So 5 to 9 items. That's why your phone number, 7 digits, that kind of thing. You get a little bit more beyond that if you do like things like chunking, that like you're trying to remember random sequence of letters. You get around this range for most people. But if it's a bunch of letters that make sense, like FBI, CEI, CIA, DEA, all that kind of stuff in order, you get a whole lot more because you're not using the short-term memory, you're using storage. You also have, what's it, working memory? I'm trying to remember this off of memory. I think those are the big ones. So short-term memory is like you can keep stuff in your audio loop. Like you have to remember a phone number, you keep saying it over and over, and you'll keep it in that short-term memory. Won't necessarily make it over the long term. Now, working memory, though, that's like your active thoughts, the things that you're actively doing. And probably the most interesting thing about this is to stop and think about, okay, there's everything about the world is the way it is, everything that's here. And then there's actually what we're perceiving right here. So by the time we get to right there, realize how many things we've already ignored. Right? That's what we do. We can focus in on something, which means we ignore everything else. And so right here, we're already ignoring most things. And it's got to work in from there. So it's a really a hard process because each time you do it, as you transmit it over here and as it moves over here, there's the opportunities for it to be altered. Right? There's the opportunities for you to just think about it. Okay. Last Friday night, I went out to eat at such and such place. I had such a place. I have that. Right. And as you run through memories, as you access them, as you pull them back out to get them back into your working memory, you'll also have that opportunity to corrupt them again. And it's something that can be extremely, extremely powerful. Yeah. And so what's really interesting about witnesses is actually the timeline associated with it. And so there's a couple ways I'll probably talk about this. Talk about it in terms of incidences themselves. So if we were to talk about how the incidences unfold, what kinds of things would we be talking about? We're talking criminal things, but how do those things tend to arise?
Someone calls the cops.
Yeah, so calls place. This has already happened. Did they see this take place?
Not always.
Not always.
You can hear it.
If they're present. I don't know how that's a question. Attention. How much attention are people giving to the situation in front of them at any one given point in time? Probably not going to be high. Okay. What kind of encounter do we want this to be? Criminal? Do we want it to be what kind of crime? Violent crime. Right. Okay, violent. Okay, cool. All right. So, what kind of violence were we expecting here?
Murder.
Murder. Okay. So, is this murder that's planned out or murder by surprise?
Surprise.
Surprise. So, the good old heat of passion. Yes. Okay. Do you think anyone in the room who could be a witness to this murder was going to be expecting it? What's that gonna do? Shocked, right? And all of a sudden, why are you just stabbing that person so many times? Right? Next, you got the stress, you got the attention, you have stressors, maybe real danger. What does that do for people's attention spans?
How big one?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys ever heard of gun stare? Turn the camera slightly to the left, please. Yes, I sure can. Where is this thing at? Is this left? Yeah. It's funny because it's actually to my right.
Isn't that like what happened with that Brian Koberger case? Is like the one person like blacked out in fear, supposedly.
I don't know. Tell me more about this.
He's the one that like stabbed like the two girls and the guy, the college kids in Idaho.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
But like one
Yes.
roommate didn't call the cops for a long time because she'd supposedly been blacked
Yes.
out in fear.
That's exactly that. And yeah, so if you start thinking about this, how much attention you're paying to stress and danger, anytime you have those types of responses, there's usually just three of them. You know, the fight, flight, or freeze. And it's the freeze is one that most people ignore. But yeah, yeah. So in that moment, you have all the panic, all the stress, all the danger, being caught unaware with something dangerous happening in front of you. How quickly can you reorient yourself to start recording all the information? And then how many different competing things do you have going on with you right now? Like, as in, you're starting to do that panicking, you're starting to feel that cold feeling, that tunnel vision, and all that kind of stuff. It's like those things. There's a lot that goes on there. They'll give you some specific factors to look at in here. I can't remember off the top of my head. Should be able to. For basically evaluating witnesses. But if they don't, I'll remember it. We'll get to it. But some of that's involved in that. It's like what kind of attention, what kind of situation, what amount of time is associated with this too, right? What other things could be affecting it? And so, let me show you that. Let's see here. To convict a person of a crime, you must prove something. Yes. I love some of these slides. Okay. Mistaken eyewitnesses identification. Yes. Allows guilty person to avoid identification conviction. Specific variables contribute. System. Law enforcement. Lineup procedures. Estimated variables, which cannot be controlled by the law. It doesn't even give you what those are. So that's probably going to be things like factors like, is this within race or outside of race identifications? Within race, your accuracy is higher. It's outside of race. Ooh, cross race identifications decrease. Things like that. It's going to be familiarity a little bit there. If you start looking at, let's see, what's it going to next? Examples of variables and methods used to control them. Okay, so there's a few different ways to do it. If you're going to do a lineup, the basic statement is it can't, one, you can't identify who your suspect is. That's the big, right? And so different ways to control it. If you're both blind, both the person who's making the identifications and the person who's bringing in people, if neither one of them know who's who, then that's going to be, oh, pardon me. That's going to be less likely to be subject to the, well, pressures from people who might want to do otherwise. Instructions, the lineup array, procedures themselves, when it's multiple, feedback, simultaneously and sequential, lineups, composite procedures. So we'll talk about each of those things. So double blind, you already know, that's where nobody knows who's who. Instructions to the witness, we've talked a little bit about. Really what you want to do is look at the lineup array and then multiple lineup procedures. For the array itself, what you want to make sure is that how it's being done doesn't itself identify who it is. Easy ways to identify that would be like there's only one person here that the suspects, identified race or whatever like that. You have a description here. It says it's a Middle Eastern man in his mid-40s. Okay. You only have one of those on this lineup. Everybody else is completely different racial groups. It's like that would be something like that's not going to work. Multiple lineup procedures becomes a bit of a question because you start to ask the question, how many times can I show you a face before you recognize it? Right? And so if we had our murder, we're in our lineups, you got 5 people here, right? The process as witnesses go through whenever they're making the identification is kind of interesting. What happens here? You can see some people know right off the bat, but you'll have a lot of hesitancy at the beginning because you have all of the difficulties of whatever crime took place, plus all of the potential weight given to the victim in identifying someone, because if they identify the wrong person, they have just made the life worse. So usually there's a fair bit of hesitancy once they make an identification. Over time, it's sort of like that initial certainty starts increasing over time as you get closer to trial. One thing that can happen is you've seen these pictures a few different times. You don't recognize the fact that you've seen the same face 3 times. It's just that one's familiar, right? In your mind, as you're accessing your memories of that crime incident and these pictures, guess what happens? Those things get blurred. First story I ever heard, I need to find this out. It's not just an anecdotal story. It was a sex crime where the female victim, actually found out that the person she identified was the wrong person. 20 years later, something like that. Person had been behind bars. DNA test identified a serial rapist that was not caught at the time. So yeah, it definitely wasn't this guy. And so he got free. He was released. The interesting thing that was from the witness, the female victim. She wrote him a letter saying, "Hey, really not sorry she was, but I still have nightmares of you. Don't know what to do with that. You're not even the perpetrator, but it's in her mind so much that that's the face she sees." There's no set number for how many lineups you can do, how many different ones of those. It's just that once you start getting up there, it really weakens it. So for everybody I've seen before, person associated with one particular incident, here are these faces. I don't know. Show it to me again. Okay, I'm starting to get tired. How many more of these do I have to look at before I can pick somebody? Approach it. All right, feedback to the witnesses. That's one where you can have some, to the opposite of double blinding, right? Where they give you indications for who the suspect is. Simultaneous versus sequential lineups. That has to do with basically, are you looking to assess the person that you saw against the person you see now, or are you looking to find the person who matches most closely to the person you remember? That's what I put that one in there. And then composite procedures, this probably has to do with drawings. Yeah. Estimated variable: stress, focus on weapon, duration of the event, distance and lighting, character, memory decay, cross-racial bias. Yep. Not an exhaustive list. DNA evidence. 254 people been exonerated from DNA evidence. 75% were due to eyewitness identifications. What's interesting is if you get on what is it, the Innocence Project, they track theirs. They predominantly work on death row cases, though. So a lot of those might be death row cases where people are say being put to death incorrectly. Yes, and so it's like that's a pretty serious one. And then, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not gonna talk about DNA tests and that kind of stuff. 5,000 people are annually brought in on trial. Yeah. Okay, what can be done about convicting innocent people? Educating about hazards related to eyewitness testimony, more expert testimony, corroborating evidence, and then I guess having skilled interviewers. Here's what I talk about sketches. Yeah. Police lack probable cause for an arrest or exigent circumstances. A show up is admissible. We talked about show ups a little bit last time. So the difference between a show up and a lineup. Everyone's familiar with the lineup. You're familiar with the show up, you just haven't seen it as often. You know, basically that would happen. You've seen them dramatically probably depicted in like cop movies where it's the very end of the the story's coming to a close, bad guy's getting arrested. You see, is this the guy? It's right in front of him. That kind of a thing. That's exactly what happens. Is that for a show up, what happens is they've canvassed the area and they found someone who closely matches the description of whomever was involved. And because of the time, the response time, the proximity, it's like that's probably or die. So let's just check real quick. And so that's kind of what they do. Photo arrays, same thing as the lineups, but just mug shots. What does it say here? Must have 6 or more persons. Must be in similar age, race, size to avoid the issue of suggestiveness. Yeah. Other identifications. Inadvertent confrontation between a witness or a victim. And we don't care about that. In court. So one of the most interesting things is if you ever identify somebody and for some reason that identification is invalidated. Like there's been some type of issue, some type of I don't know, error that has made it to where that can't be admitted. That right there's a really easy answer for that. Your identification procedures were wrong in some way or invalid in some way. That will take place of it. You just wait till you're in court and be like, okay, who was it? Person right there. That kind of a thing. So that one can be pretty easily fixed. Most of the time. Show-ups don't like, yeah. No probable cause, exigent circumstances. Yeah. There you go. I would kind of suggest it. Don't care about that. All right. So here's where I start getting some of those things. Attention and that kind of stuff. Neal versus Biggers identify factors to be used to determine whether evidence is sufficiently accurate or reliable to present to a jury for their deliberation. Yeah. So here's where they're getting into it. Nope, too far. What opportunity did you have to see? Literally, opportunity to see. How much attention were you paying? Were you casual or a high degree of attention? The next one. Your original description. How accurate is it? How certain were you? Time of confrontation, right? How much time between the crime and the identification? There are your factors. That one right there. That's a really good one. But it's also very, very difficult because people's interpretations are of the same things. It's quite different. For example, it's late at night, it's 4 a.m, it's really dark. But I'm in an urban area. There's a parking lot not too far away. You talk about the dark, I'm gonna start noting some more. It's a parking lot. Those big orange lights. Okay. Is this person a dark-skinned white man or a light-skinned black man? The light's orange. There's no real way to tell what their actual complexion is. What color is this car? Looks black. It's actually green. The orange light. Yeah, it's like that kind of a thing. So there's those factors there. Most have adopted these decisions. Some have added some modifications in terms of what it means to be suggestive, but of course disagreed with need for reliability determinations when suggestive circumstances were not caused by the government. That's funny. New Jersey retrial procedures for delinquency. I don't care about that. Defendant must prove a very substantial likelihood of irreparable misidentification if they're challenging. Okay. Here's the good stuff. Lineups. Sequential, one at a time, double-blind administrator, ideally. Here's where they talk about constitutional rights. I'll tell you about that. Basically, when we start looking at lineups, they're been challenged on a number of constitutional fronts. The ones that have worked, Sixth Amendment right to counsel after you've been charged, only after you've been charged, and no seizures, right? No unreasonable seizures of persons. Those are the big ones. If you've got those rights violations that have taken place, then your identification you get kicked out, kind of thing. Reason why the attorney is present, it's a critical stage of the prosecution. Only a critical stage because they've been charged. If they hadn't been charged, you have no right there. Okay, without his attorney being present, placed in the lineup. Yeah. Admission of in-court identifications without first term, they were not tainted, was constitutional. Yep. So in-court identification. I'll just tell you more about that. So National Council lineup procedure rules. Reasonable notice of lineup suspect counsel, at least 6 persons, similar in size, color, dress is a big part. At the voice part, only witness may indicate the suspect, only one witness may view the line at a time. Photograph arrays. It says at least a same general description. Witness can view them independently out of the immediate presence of other witnesses. Use of single photograph. This one. That one's unduly suggested. Just one picture. All right. Bigger is articulated from. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise. Of course, you have your cameras, fingerprints, DNA. That's more just tracking. Distinct features, clothing, voice identification. This one's not so common. I guess the book one thought that was cool to put in. And then here in a second, I'll show you this. Clearly establish that a witness has identified the defendant. Okay, that's courtroom identification procedures. Ask them to find what they're wearing, where they're sitting. Yeah. Witnesses may be asked whether they had previously identified the defendant as the person who committed the crime being charged. Can be considered hearsay, but it's still meaningful. Courtroom identification. Yeah. And have cross-examination and that kind of stuff. Here's where they start going into some more of the future stuff, but I think when instead of that, I'm going to show you guys a video. I want to show you this. Kind of give you an idea for how bad it is. Let's see, that's going to be this is one of them. Oop. And so you can see how bad it is.
Hi, I'm Richard. This is Sarah, and we're going to perform the amazing colour-changing card trick with this blue-backed deck of cards. Now, the idea is very simple. I'm just going to spread the cards in front of Sarah and ask her to push any card towards the camera.
Right, okay, let's see. I'm going to go for this card here.
Okay. Now, Sarah could have selected any card at all from the deck, but she selected the card which is now face down on the table. And what I'm going to ask her to do is show us which card she selected.
Right, so the card that I chose was in fact the 3 of diamonds.
The 3 of diamonds, okay, excellent choice. That card goes back into the deck. Now I'm just going to spread the cards face up on the table, do a little click of the fingers, and you'll see that Sarah's card here has now got a blue back. Not particularly surprising. What's slightly more surprising is all of the other cards have got red backs. And that is the amazing color changing card trick.
Table background and shirts. Yeah. Because we're focused in on the cards. You don't want to see them. There's another one that's a little less hokey. That's still pretty hokey. What is it? I think it's a person. Yeah, Swamp Darren something or other. Because this is one where it's 17 years ago. Yeah.
Music next night shift
I
at your
don't want
worst.
to hear that. There's that mute button. I got enough music next. Let's get. There we go.
I think we're pretty observant, but with a bit of mind control, I wanted to see if I could make these people take even the most obvious things for granted.
Excuse me. You know how to get to Trinity Church from here? See that church down there? Yep, straight through there. And then you keep going down.
Well, if you notice, that's a big picture of him.
Yeah. You stay on there, which is a bleak cornway. And then you walk down 2 or 3 blocks and the church is on the right hand side. No more in that direction.
Excuse me, you don't know where Trinity Church is, do you?
19 Wall Street in Broadway.
Okay. Well, we're down here somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, you see, Trinity Church. Sorry. Yeah, it's like the Trinity Church. Yeah. You keep going that way, you went Broadway, then you go 4 blocks. And thanks very much.
That seemed almost too easy. So later on, I see how far I can take it.
Excuse me, do you know where Trinity Church is?
Okay. Last time I switched with someone who looked a little bit like me, but where's the fun in that?
You know that's the right field, the other side, see what I mean, standing?
Sure.
That's the pool, no, the lady, the phrase.
The other side,
Yeah, the other side.
but you say you don't know where it is.
Exactly what street, no, but if that's the right.
Okay, that's enough. Yeah, just having a conversation because you're so focused in on the map and the directions. You're not paying attention to the actual person there in front of you. Right? Concentration. Very, very important. Let's see. Anything else we need to talk about? Biometrics, iris, hand geometry, face recognition, that kind of stuff. We'll probably talk some about some of the facial recognition stuff next time because I'll show you some of the you can find some pretty high profile news stories in the last couple of years of wrong person. AI identified this person, or facial recognition said it was this person. We charged them. That person's never even been to this state. That kind of stuff. Because that can't happen. Well, computer was not that much better than we are. But with that, that's all I have for today. We'll pick up with this next time. We'll talk a little about the electronic stuff, and then we'll move into, I closed it already. Probably the computer stuff would probably be next. I don't know. We'll pop around and we'll stay in this what is it, 6-chapter range, but I'm probably gonna go to computers and physical evidence before moving back to confession. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know. If you guys want to talk about any of those things in any order, though, let me know. Move around. With that, y'all have a great day.
You too.
Yeah. Catch you Wednesday.